Today we're catching up in the neighborhood with Pam, a QHS member whose life is as familiar and comforting as a walk down a tree-lined street. But what steps brought her to where she is today? Let's take a stroll through her life story and see what's been happening behind the scenes.
Hi, my name is Pam. I had a wonderful childhood, lots of fun and laughter. My mom and dad were from Kanawha County, West Virginia. My dad went to elementary school and junior high school with Jerry West, who grew up to play basketball for the Los Angeles Lakers. My paternal grandfather, was a coal miner and was injured before my dad finished high school. The injury left the family without much income, so my dad left high school and joined the Coast Guard so that he could send money home. My mother met my dad at a birthday party when he was on leave. She took one look at that fellow with the uniform on and said someday she would like to marry him. She was 14 then. Only a couple years later and they were married. Mom graduated from high school when she was pregnant with me. My birth brought tremendous joy, but also because of major health issues, there was also deep sadness. The heart-wrenching health of their new baby girl drove them to prayer and to a realization of their need for a Savior, and they were all in. I grew up in church. I learned how to read at 4 because of the memory verses that I was handed every Sunday in Sunday school. Because my dad was in the military, we were privileged to move to different parts of the country every 3 years. I lived in Virginia, Indiana, Missouri, Maine, and Governor's Island, New York. The move to Missouri from Indiana stands out in my mind. I was almost 10. We had a trailer that Mom was going to sell to her sister and husband, so we loaded up everything that we had in our Buick. And my dad went to Missouri to report in, and my mom and brother and I went to West Virginia to get my aunt and uncle to go back to Indiana with them so that they could take claim to the trailer. As it turned out, plans were abruptly changed when a drunk driver broadsided our Buick. My mom and her sister got out of the front passenger side and pulled my brother and me out of the burning car. My uncle, who was driving, couldn't get out, so he leaned back to kick the window out. But before he actually lunged to kick the window, the door opened all on its own. Thankfully, my uncle was able to get out, but his words, he describes it as, it was his come to Jesus moment. Later, we met up with my dad in Missouri. He worked in the same building with the Marines, and they were doing their Toys for Tots collection. They had heard about our accident and wanted my brother and I to pick out what we would like for Christmas. The Marines loaded us up with all kinds of toys and games, and even a bike. Amazing how this tragic car accident set the stage for the best Christmas ever. After I graduated high school, I went to Liberty University and majored in psychology. I always did well in school, loved every science class that I could possibly fit in. While I was at Liberty, my husband found me. I am an introvert, so I would have never been comfortable in asking him out. We had a Western civilization history class together. He sat on one side of the overhead projector, and I sat on the other. Until one day our class was watching a reel-to-reel movie, and the movie reel fell off and rolled out of the door. We kind of bumped into each other in the class chaos, and there you go. We started sitting together, and history was in the making. We have been married just over 38 years. We have 2 wonderful adult boys, and they are married and both have 2-year-old girls. My husband and I are so delighted to be able to spend time with the grandbabies. So what brings me to QHS? Unfortunately, I lost my dad to sudden heart failure when he was in his 40s. Just before he passed, he would occasionally mention that his heart was racing. Now that I'm experiencing the same thing, I find it deeply concerning. I also have one leg shorter than the other, so I'm in constant pain. Can't sit, can't stand. I so long for the QArc. Even more concerning is just after my husband lost his parents, he started having the same kind of seizures that his parents had. My husband and I are self-employed. There's no time off, and self-employed insurance is enormously expensive. Thus, we have to keep working. It has been a very dark and dreadful 8 years, leading me to do research. I did medical research in college, so I know how this works. I have all kinds of really cool gadgets, which really only took the edge off. Then I heard of frequency healing. I really feel that there is hope here that nothing else can offer, and I can hardly wait for the QArc. Thank you.
Join us on the Prequel, where every story matters and every voice is heard. Because here at QHS, we're all about healing, learning, and growing together.